Friendly fire.
Hi, I'm Fire Driver Andre Knight, and I'm here to present to you the Durham Fire Department's written test-taking tips for new firefighter candidates. Preparing for this test, make sure you visit the site prior to the test date. The Durham Fire Department is a very punctual organization. We do not tolerate being late for any reason, no matter the excuse, not even for 1 minute. Know your directions here and know an alternate route. Again, if you're late for some reason, for a car accident, car trouble, none of that matters. You need to make sure you're here according to your scheduled time. Make sure you get comfortable with this place, know where the bathrooms are, and know where your entrances are, and know where your exits. Once again, if you're late for even 1 minute, the door will be locked and you will not have the opportunity to take your test. Make sure you prepare everything the night before. I'm going to say this multiple times. We are very punctual, we're very punctual, we're very punctual. You have to be here on time for your start date. Be well rested for your test. Make sure you eat good before the test, and make sure you arrive early. While you're taking the test, all the questions are fire related. That means you do not need any fire prior knowledge to take this test and do well on it. You only need to understand the questions, understand the directions fully. For example, math is always math. 1 + 1 is always equal 2. If a question asks you what's 1 length of fire hose plus 1 length of fire hose, the answer is 2 lengths of fire hose. You do not need to know what is a length of fire hose to answer the question appropriately. Make sure you read the directions carefully. Mark all your answers clearly. Compare the number on the grade sheet with the answer sheet often. Keep track of your time, but make sure you don't panic. You have 100 questions in 2.5 hours. Think of it as if you are preparing for the next 30 years of your life, and you have the next 2.5 hours to prove to us that you're willing to do this job for the next 30 years. You have no prize for finishing first, and do not leave anything blank. Test taking tips. The slide says 13 test taking tips, but we're only going to go over 10. All of these test taking tips have been created by Henry Morse. Test taking tips number 1. Make sure you read thoroughly. Read each question thoroughly, including all the answers and choices before marking one. Often cases, you can find a hint to the answer in the question itself. Test taking tips number 2. Certain first. The first time you go through and take your test, only answer those questions that you know the answer for sure. This will avoid you getting bogged down, getting frustrated if you don't know the answer. My advice to you is take the test the first time, only answer those questions that you are sure of. Skip anything that you're not sure of. Test taking tips number 3. Mark properly. This goes into reading the directions. You'll be handed a Scantron with a number 2 pencil. If the directions say to circle the answer or bubble it in, make sure you do that clearly. If you need to erase something, make sure you erase it thoroughly. Don't mark anything, no slashes, no X's. Once the Scantron is fed through the machine, whatever the machine says your results are, that's what they are. So you want to make sure your answers are marked properly. Test taking tips number 4. First isn't always right. This goes into the myth stating always go with your gut feeling, never read all the question entirely. That's completely false. You want to make sure that you take your time and read the entire question and read all the answers in their entirety. You may think answer A is a good choice, but answer D might be a better choice. So again, take your time and read all the choices. Test taking tips number 5. Skip next. So the first time you went through the test, you answer only those questions that you are sure of. The next time you want to go back through and answer every question that you skipped. There are other standardized tests out there that will penalize you for marking the answer wrong, and so it's better to leave the answer blank. This is not one of those tests. If you leave an answer blank, you have a 100% chance of getting an answer wrong. Slash the trash. Most of the time in these tests, there are 2 answers that are completely off the wall that you know for sure that are not going to be right. Identify those 1 or 2 choices immediately, put a slash through them, ignore them, and if you're not sure of the answer, just compare the other 2 choices you have left, and you have a better chance of answering the question appropriately. Test taking tips number 7. Here we'll have a visual aid to help you understand better what I'm about to explain to you. For this tip, you need to rotate your answer sheet 90 degrees. Make sure you have 2 dots in each column going down the entire page. If there aren't 2 dots that you put in each column, that means you skipped an answer and you need to go through your test and make sure every answer is answered. Notice in this animation, the test taker has rotated their document 90 degrees. As the line moves down the page, the test taker realizes that there is 1 dot missing in this column. This means that answer, number 86, which is circled here, was not answered. Do not consider the dots at the bottom of the page, which are also circled in red, as one of the 2 dots that should be circled in that column. Test taking tips number 8, clean erasing. Again, this is a Scantron that will be fed through a machine. You want to make sure that no answers are answered inadvertently. So if you're going to erase anything, make sure you erase it very clearly. Test taking tips number 9. A very common mistake and a costly mistake is not putting your name on the Scantron. If you fail to put your name on the Scantron, you would not be given credit for taking the test, and you would have wasted all of your time. Test taking tips number 10. Relax and try again. If you find yourself in the middle of the test and you begin to rush through it, you start to get frustrated, you want to hurry up and make sure this thing is over with, put down your pencil or your pen, take a deep breath, take 5 minutes to reset your brain, and then do it again. Now we're going to go into the test itself. The test is a comprehensive examination battery, or a CEB. It's made up of 100 questions in 5 different sections. Those sections are reading ability, mathematical reasoning, map reading, writing ability, and human relations. The first section we'll go over is reading ability. You will read 1 page of information, then answer questions on that information. All answers are found in the provided information. You may refer back to the information at any time. So for our first example, pause the video whenever you're ready, read the paragraph in its entirety, and on the next slide, we'll have a question for you to answer. Reading ability example baseball. Question 1. A player who reaches base due to a blank is not credited with a hit. A, irresponsible fielder. B, fielding mistake. C, infield fly rule. Or D, batter runner. The correct answer is found right here, as we have highlighted in red at the bottom of the paragraph. Again, you do not need to know anything about the fire service previously to answer these questions appropriately. Every answer that you are looking for is written plainly in the text. Reading ability example baseball. Number 2. The catcher catches pitches that the batter does not hit as a result of either blank or blank. A, bunting, not swinging. B, failing to connect, base on balls. C, foul ball, base on balls. D, not swinging, failing to connect. As in the previous example, you will find every answer in the reading ability section in the text. This section is testing your ability to decipher information and find the answer within the text. It is not testing any previous knowledge that you have from another job. Section on mathematical. Again, all these questions will be fire related, but once again, you do not need any prior fire experience to answer the questions appropriately. They're all basic mathematics, and you may not use a calculator or your phone. Mathematical example baseball. Question 1. In baseball, the bases are spaced 90 feet apart. If a batter hits the ball and runs to first, to second, and halfway to third, how far has he run? The answer is C, 225 feet. You reach this answer by adding 90 plus 90 plus 45, which equals a total of 225. Once again, no prior knowledge of baseball is needed to answer this question appropriately. As in our test, no prior knowledge to the fire service will be needed to answer those questions appropriately. Mathematical example baseball. Question 2. At the Durham Bulls Athletic Park, the right field is 327 feet away. The average bunt travels 21 feet. If you had to bunt continuously until you hit the fence, how many times must you bunt the ball? The answer is C, 16. You would have arrived at this answer by dividing 327 by 21, which gave you the answer of 15.6, and rounding up to the closest number, which is 16. Section of map reading. On this section, you will need to focus on directions. Keep a lookout for one-way streets and time issues. Focus on the question. If it asks you for the direction of the entrance of the building, be sure to look at the entrance rather than looking at where the actual building is on the map. Map reading example baseball. It is 15 minutes before the first pitch. You're sitting with the fire chief in section 110, row B, and need to go to section 105 to pick up a soft pretzel. What is your best route of travel? In questions like this, it is very important to pick out that information that is important and throw away information that is not important. For example, is it important that you're sitting with the fire chief? No. But is it important that you're sitting in section 110? Yes. Here's your correct answer. Be mindful of one-way traffic gates, and enclosed corridors, especially during game times. This is the reason why the blue line does not extend directly from section 110 to 105. Instead, it makes a right turn between sections 200 and 202, continues down corridor gate A, and then makes another right turn. Map reading example baseball, question 2. While walking around the stadium, the national anthem starts playing. You were right behind section 113 when you turn to face the flag. What direction are you facing? Take your time, read this question carefully, and again, pick out the important details in order to answer the question appropriately. The correct answer is northeast. The next section will be writing skills. This will test your use of language, punctuation, grammar, and spelling. Writing example baseball, question 1. Baseball is a fun sport, blank. Play and I like to play it blank at the park. A, T-O-O and T-H-E-R-E. B, T-O and T-H-E-R-E. C, T-W-O and T-H-E-I-R. Or D, T-O and T-H-E-I-R. The correct answer is B, two in there, spelled T-O and T-H-E-R-E. Write an example baseball 2. Identify the type of error that is found in this sentence. Candlesticks always make a nice gift. It's answer A, grammar, B, spelling, C, punctuation, or D, no error. Answer is C, punctuation. Write an example baseball, question 3. Choose a word that is synonymous, which means the same thing as the underlying word. Is the modern day athlete a pale imitation of the great old warriors? A, original, B, timing, C, reproduction, D, triple. Using context clues, you should have arrived at the correct answer, which is C, reproduction. The last section will be human relations. This section will have a situation where you have to choose the most and least appropriate response from 4 choices. Again, make sure you read the directions carefully to know what the question is asking you. Is it asking for the most appropriate response, or is it asking for the least appropriate response? Human relations example baseball. You are in a concession line and the person in front of you hustles off with some Cracker Jacks to catch the game, but you notice that his wallet drops out of his pocket as he bounds up the corridor. Do you A, take the wallet, B, ignore the wallet, C, pick it up and try to find the man in the stadium, or D, take it to the lost and found? What is the most appropriate response and what is the least appropriate response? The least appropriate response will be to take the wallet. The most appropriate response will be to take it to the lost and found. Once again, all the questions are fire related. You do not need any prior experience to the fire service to answer these questions appropriately. Read all the directions carefully, mark your answers clearly, and compare the number on the grade sheet with the answer sheet often. Keep track of your time, but do not panic. You have 100 questions in 2.5 hours. There is no prize for finishing first. And again, do not leave anything blank. Thank you. And that's it. Thanks for watching the video, and I hope to see you soon. Good luck.
Durham City Fire.